Hello and welcome to World News here on TVP World. I'm Marie Cato. Chinese President Xi Jinping and his French counterpart Emmanuel Macron have called for a ceasefire in the war in Ukraine, according to China's state broadcaster CCTV. This comes against the backdrop of the French head of state's fourth visit to China, aimed at strengthening bilateral ties. The two leaders expressed their support for all efforts geared towards achieving peace in Europe. President Xi Jinping also said his country, quote, will continue to play a constructive role in the political settlement of the crisis in its own way, according to the state-run outlet CCTV. China has long opposed economic sanctions on Russia, with Chinese-made drones being used by both sides in the conflict. According to a recent report by the Washington Post, Russia's surge in drone strikes on China has been driven by China increasing its exports of key components to Russia this summer. President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has said Ukraine's meeting with U.S. peace envoy Steve Witkoff in Florida would help Kyiv understand the pretext Russia is using to prolong the war. Zelenskyy made the comments in his nightly address as the head of Ukraine's National Security Council, Rustem Umerov, was due to sit down with Witkoff for an update on talks held at the Kremlin on Tuesday.
Our task now is to obtain complete information about what was said in Russia, what other pretexts Putin has found to prolong the war and to pressure Ukraine, to pressure us and our independence. Ukraine is prepared for any possible developments. Of course, we will work as constructively as possible with all our partners so that peace can be achieved. And so that it is a dignified peace. Only a dignified peace ensures real security. And we fully understand that this requires partner support both now and in the future.
Irish media report that unauthorized drones were spotted operating close to the flight path of President Volodymyr Zelensky's airplane as he arrived for a state visit to Ireland earlier this week. Zelenskyy and the First Lady Olena Zelenska arrived late on Monday as part of a trip to help drum up support in Europe for Kyiv as Russia continues its war in Ukraine. The Irish Times reports that the sighting triggered a major security alert amid fears it was an attempt to interfere with the flight path. An advisor to Zelenskyy is quoted as saying that Ukrainian officials were made aware of the drones, but no action was deemed necessary. Unauthorized drone flights have recently disrupted operations at a number of European airports. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has called the incursions hybrid warfare. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz has made it clear that the frozen Russian assets should be released for the financial benefit of Ukraine and only for the benefit of Ukraine. The German leader made it clear that it is purely a European matter, hinting that the US government should in no way benefit from these negotiations.
This is a European matter, and I see no way of economically transferring the money that we then mobilize to the United States of America. And the US government knows this. It is also the negotiating position of the German government, the representatives who negotiate on our behalf in various formats, and that is also the consensus at the European level. There are no differences on this whatsoever. This money must flow to Ukraine and help Ukraine.
The UK has announced further measures targeting Russian military intelligence following conclusive reports of the Dawn Sturgis inquiry. It is now clear that President Vladimir Putin was directly involved in the Russian state-sponsored activity going back to 2018. While the assassination attempt was directed at Sergei Skripal, it was Dawn Sturgis who was killed by the Russian nerve agent Novichok in Salisbury in the United Kingdom.
The United Kingdom is introducing sweeping measures targeting the Russian Military Intelligence Agency, also known as the GRU. These measures include sanctions on the entire agency. This latest decision follows the publishing of the Dawn Sturgis inquiry's final report, accusing the GRU of state-sponsored hostile acts against the UK and Europe.
3 Russian men who were members of GRU Unit 29155 travelled to this country on Friday the 2nd of March 2018 using aliases Petrov, Bosharov and Fedotov. They came to the UK with the intention of working together to kill Sergei Skripal.
instead of killing their intended target, a former Russian military intelligence officer who acted as a double agent for the United Kingdom's intelligence services during the 1990s and early 2000s by the name of Sergei Skripal. The Russian mission resulted in the death of an innocent civilian and UK national, Don Sturgis, in 2018. The victim died after being infected with a highly toxic nerve agent, Novichok, which was developed and held by Russia in contravention of the Chemical Weapons Convention.
Dawn Sturgis died an innocent victim of an attempt by officers of a Russian state organization to conduct an assassination on the streets of Salisbury using a highly toxic nerve agent. And I've concluded that the operation to assassinate Sergei Skripal must have been authorized at the highest level, indeed by President Putin.
The Russian ambassador to the United Kingdom has also been summoned to answer for Russia's ongoing campaign of hostile activity against the UK.
Moving to Turkey now, a country that remains the last major importer of Russian gas in Europe. As Maciej Wilowski reports, Ankara is now turning its eyes to other partners, including the United States, in a bid to diversify its national energy supplies.
Turkey is strengthening its energy ties with the United States. Turkish Petroleum, one of the country's biggest energy companies, is negotiating with American energy giants ExxonMobil and Chevron to acquire production stakes in U.S. oil and gas fields. It's a push aimed at diversifying the country's energy supplies, a move that could have consequences for Russia.
Turkey is a last big client for Russian gas in Europe.
Accounting for nearly 40% of its gas imports, Russia is Turkey's biggest supplier of natural gas. Neighboring Iran and Azerbaijan are also major clients.
Turkey is an import-dependent country. 98% of all the energy that is consumed in Turkey is actually imported from mostly its immediate neighbors.
Two pipelines, Turk Stream and Blue Stream, supply Turkey with Russian gas via the Black Sea.
Those pipelines have been built in the last decade, 15 years. So the plan was to use them for many decades, and now it's all under the question mark.
As of 2025, Turk Stream remains the only pipeline that still supplies Europe with Russian gas, with all others having been decommissioned since the latter's invasion of Ukraine. Turkey's diversification push comes amid recent Ukrainian attacks on Russian vessels, including oil tankers, in the Black Sea, some of which have taken place in Turkish waters.
Black Sea is a critical corridor for Ankara. The proximity to Turkish borders, Turkish waters, is a concern for this country.
The strikes have even unsettled top Turkish officials like President Recep Tayyip Erdogan.
It is seen that the war between Russia and Ukraine has reached a point where it clearly threatens navigational safety in the Black Sea. The targeting of commercial ships in our exclusive economic zone signals a worrying escalation.
A Turkish deal with American energy companies could increase U.S. influence in the Mediterranean while posing a new strategic challenge for the Kremlin. Maciej Wilowski for TVP World.
One step into the final frontier, and now Poland once more pushing for a national communications satellite. That's according to the country's deputy defense minister, speaking exclusively to Kazimierz Wyszak, as Warsaw and Washington ink a deal to work closer together on space technology.
3, 2, 1, ignition.
The successful launch of the first Polish military satellite last week is making Poland hungry for more, on an even bigger scale.
Our ambition is to launch a national communications satellite. It would guarantee a signal not only for the military, but for the entire Polish state. That's a major investment worth billions of euros. We've been working on it for some time, but we can't say more at this stage.
But before this national satellite becomes a reality, Warsaw and Washington are tightening their cooperation in the space technology sphere.
And we have liftoff of the United Launch Alliance.
Poland has joined a few select countries like the UK and the Netherlands in the wideband global SATCOM system, a robust system of satellites of the US Space Force.
The agreement means that Poland joins other nations in contributing financially to the system and will help construct a new satellite. We're talking about around $40 million by the end of 2041, so not that much money in return for full access to the US satellites.
First and foremost, this system provides us with an extremely secure military signal. It's very robust against jamming. I'm sure you've heard about various attacks made against our communications.
Uninterrupted access to satellite connections is crucial in modern warfare. This is especially visible in Ukraine, when the US briefly pulled its satellite imagery from the Ukrainians earlier this year. The Russian invaders immediately made significant gains in the Kursk region. US satellite systems are a powerful tool, as long as you keep the Americans happy.
We're not in Poland because we're good-hearted, kind, wonderful people. We're in Poland because it serves our interests to be in Poland. This is not a charity case. Every measure of US-Polish enhanced relationship, military, commercial, it helps us both.
Poland is investing heavily in its defense and security, especially in the face of the ongoing Russian invasion of Ukraine. Poland has also experienced some jamming from the Russian side, for example, near the Kaliningrad region, which is bordering Poland. So uninterrupted access to satellite connections is especially important for Poland's security. From Warsaw, Kazimierz Łysiak, TVP World.
Former EU Foreign Policy Chief Federica Mogherini has resigned as rector of the prestigious Diplomatic College of Europe amid an EU fraud investigation. She announced her decision in a statement released on Thursday. The move comes after the European Public Prosecutor's Office accused Mogherini and two others of fraud and corruption in connection with an EU-funded training programme for junior diplomats from 2021 to 2022, a tender run by the EU Diplomatic Service and awarded to the college. Mogherini's lawyer says she denies any wrongdoing, as does the other suspect, senior EU diplomat Stefano Sannino. Sannino has announced that he will retire early this month, saying it would be inappropriate to continue in his role amid the probe. Mogherini and Sannino are well-known figures in Brussels diplomatic circles, and news of the allegations has sent shockwaves through the EU community. Pirates reportedly hijacked a tanker off the west coast of Central Africa on Wednesday, abducting several crew members, including one Polish national. The Polish Ministry of Foreign Affairs confirmed the information on Thursday. Our Africa correspondent Sofia Ba has more.
A Portugal-flagged LPG carrier has been attacked by pirates off of Equatorial Guinea, with at least 9 people reportedly kidnapped. Security firm Vanguard said that Sea Gas Saturn was boarded around 50 miles west of Bindi early Monday. The gas tankers were sailing towards Malado when the assault took place. 4 crew members were left on board, with 1 reportedly injured. Foreign Ministry of Poland spokesman has informed that a Polish citizen was among those kidnapped. A special team has been established to deal with this matter. Procedures for such situation have been launched. The crew was rounded up according to previous reports. Personal belongings were stolen, and during the incident, 1 crew member sustained what was described as light injuries and received medical care on board. The Gulf of Guinea has seen repeated crew abduction on tankers and general cargo ships over the past decades. While international naval patrols and coastal cooperation have helped suppress overall attack numbers, incident levels remain stubborn. Between January and September 2025, 15 maritime securities incidents were recorded in the region, up from 12 in the same period last year. 10 of those took place inside territorial waters, classed as armed robbery, with the remaining 5 categorized as piracy. Foreign crew members were kidnapped in the first 9 months of this year alone. Piracy in the Gulf of Guinea peaked in the middle of last decade and has been in decline in recent years. Sofia Ba, Dakar, Senegal, for TVP World.
And that's all for World News. Thank you for joining us, and stay tuned for more on TVP World. Goodbye.